What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 42nd episode of the PlayStation Drive. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Turford. I'm joined, as always, by the man himself, Mr. Matt Sawinski. Matt, how are you doing on this lovely, lovely Thursday evening, good sir?
I am doing okay, my friend. Stuck in quarantine, but trying to make the best of it. Been playing a lot of games, so that's at least a bright side to the silver lining of all the things right now. But I'm doing okay. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. You know, I just finished an early work shift today, which was odd because that usually never happens. But enough about me. We have a special guest here who's been very patiently waiting for us to introduce him. Mr. Sean Capri, the pants man himself, finally makes his PlayStation Drive debut. So Sean, welcome to the show.
Almost a year later, I finally got invited onto a show. I have so much to talk to you about. I'm also really glad that you mostly answered Matt's question of how you're doing, Ryan. I'm very proud of you. That was pretty good. You're coming along, man.
I told you I'm trying to take baby steps, Sean.
Yeah, I see it. I see the effort.
Although actually, now that it's nighttime outside, Sean, the weather's just doing okay out there.
Oh,
it's not
good. God.
Matt, this is what we do over on the Xbox Drive. Sean asks how I'm doing, and I start talking about the weather to deflect things.
That's not what I'm asking.
Well, to be fair, my success rate, I would say, is probably about 50%. Sometimes I get weather, and sometimes I get a right answer. So I'm happy with the 50%.
I know you do.
Take it.
That's why I'm trying to do what I can over on the Xbox Drive. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Not the so, weather. Of course, we've got a supersized show this week, which is why we wanted Sean to join us. But also, Sean's a recent PS5 owner. So I'm eager to kind of pick Sean's brain as someone who's new to the ecosystem with his experience. But before we get into all that, of course, we got to clean the garage a little bit. So folks at home, if you want to support the show, there's a number of awesome ways to do that. Number one, subscribe to us on your podcast feed of choice. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify. We're on all the places you find podcasts, including Amazon Music, apparently. So you can check us out there. Also, you can rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and maybe leave us a nice Apple Podcast review. That would be awesome. All that stuff helps the show get discovered and all that good stuff. Also, if you were watching us on YouTube, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, comment on the video. Tell us, what you thought about the state of play or whatever else you thought about PlayStation. And ding, 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 ring that bell for some notifications to be notified whenever we put up our new videos. And then last but not least, if you want early access to this and all of our podcasts, head over to Patreon. Patreon.com/YouMakeAPre is how you do that. There's a little tip in the old tip jar, and out comes content. Well, without further ado, let's grab our 8-tracks, pop them in. It's time for the playlist. I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands, Sean. I'm so used to, doing all this stuff visually, but this isn't a video show this week, so people can't even see me right now.
At all? No video at all?
No video at all.
I was holding up a banana for nothing.
No, for nothing, Sean.
It was the worst banana I've ever had.
I love the fact that we finally get Sean on an episode and we're like, no.
I was cleaning my shirt a second ago. I had like a lint roller and everything.
It's actually me using a Sean Vox coder. I'm just pretending to be him doing both voices.
It's amazing.
Exactly.
Deep fake.
All right. So normally what we usually do is I usually ask Matt what he's been playing. But since Matt played all the same games I did, and I'm assuming most of the same games Sean did, we're going to just talk about each game kind of individually. So I'm going to start with the stuff that I know that Matt and I only played first. So we're going to start with the Ghostwire Tokyo visual novel, which is Ghostwire Tokyo Prelude. We talked about it on the show last week. It kind of just popped out of nowhere on the PlayStation blog. It's a free download and basically kind of gets you caught up on the story of Ghostwire Tokyo. So Matt, we both played it. So what did you think about this visual novel?
I was honestly pleasantly surprised, and it makes me much more excited for the main game than I thought I was expecting it to. I love visual novels, so the style of it really didn't bother me at all. I thought the art style was beautiful. I thought everything looked really good. Sitting at about 30 minutes, I thought was an appropriate runtime for this as well, just to kind of set things up. It introduces some cool ideas. Like, I really thought that this was going to be one of those stories where it's just like, one person gets sucked into this weird world kind of thing, but it does seem to be like this is a more of a public problem, or at least with more characters knowing about what's going on. I appreciated the fact that they did work in some choice into the demo as well, like who do you want to talk to about certain things and who do you want to call up. It wasn't a ton, but it was enough that I felt was cool, along with some like visual novel battle segments, which I at all wasn't expecting. I loved it. I thought for half an hour for free this was exactly what it needed to be. It was more than what I expected, and it just gets me even more excited to play the main game, Ryan. But I don't know, am I off base here? What did you think about it?
No, I agree with you. It was awesome. Like, I actually thought it was really well done for, again, a free piece of content. And yes, obviously I would have probably liked if there was, more to it than that. But I mean, there's only so much you can complain about with a free game, right? So, yeah, I really like what you talked about with the choices and the combat and everything else, and I just like the overall vibe that I got from the visual novel itself. Like, and basically, especially because it kind of sets up a lot of like stuff that you normally see in a lot of like horror anime or like Japanese horror movies and stuff like that, which I think is like super cool. So, yeah, I'm way more interested in this game as well, and I hope that the game itself really like nails a lot of the same tone that we had kind of in the visual novel. I think that would be pretty cool. And I know that we talked about this a little bit last week, but now that we've played it, we kind of know the answer to this. So I personally don't think people are required to play this in order to get a full understanding of the main game. But I will say that if you're at all interested in Ghostwire and you've got 30 minutes to spare, you should definitely check this out. Matt, do you agree?
Completely. Like I said, I only knew what I knew from that game as from what we've seen, and I think my expectations for what it were going to be story wise and lore wise was a little bit different. So just to get a taste of what that world is actually going to be like, and I'm curious, are we going to see any of these characters in the main game? Are we going to see at least pieces of this kind of carry over? I'm curious to find out. And like you said, I don't think it's required by any means, but I do think it's a nice way to kind of get the taste buds a little wet a few weeks before launch. So I think if you have the means to play it, why not?
Yeah, for sure. And then another demo that, Matt, we got to talk about this one. It's Stranger in Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. It got a new demo. It's basically the one giant chunk of the first portion of the game. I haven't even finished the demo at this point, but I did play a pretty large chunk of it where basically you're exploring this like dark castle and stuff like that. They released this during the state of play, which is why like I just haven't had a ton of time to play this. But the nice thing about this demo is if you do finish the demo, your save does carry over to the full game, which is nice. Again, Square Enix has been doing this a lot with their demos. But man, I got stuff to say, but Matt, I want to hear what you have to say about this demo first.
Ryan, I think I'm about to shock you.
Yeah.
I am much more sold on this game now than I've ever have been before. And I think that's a combination of things. I think with my recent run of playing more difficult games like Sifu and Elden Ring, I'm just in the vibe for this right now more than I was before. I do think that there are some things that definitely need some work. I think the graphics are a little hit or miss depending on the situation. I think you get way too much gear. The stream of gear that you get, it's almost overwhelming to the point where like every 3 minutes I felt like I was changing out a new piece of equipment. But like, being able to switch from a mage to a big great sword wielding warrior on the fly was awesome, because I actually I got to a certain section in the demo the first time around, like when the first demo came out, and quit. But this time I actually got to and killed Chaos, so I made it further than I ever did before. And obviously I was doing my spammy magic attack strategy that I like to use in Elden Ring as well. But like, I don't know. I think knowing a little bit more about this game, because when the profanity and the Limp Bizkit started, I started laughing this time. Like, it's ridiculous, but I think I'm warming more to the idea of what this game could be if this continues to be the tone. If they're not going to take themselves overly seriously, the combat's fun, it's fast, it's fluid. I like that about it. If this kind of continues to be what the full game is going to be, then I'm actually considering picking this up. Ryan, I don't know. Where are you at on this demo? Because I know you were more interested in this game than I was previously.
Yeah, and actually, I really liked the demo as well. Like, I thought it was super fun. I have a lot of nitpicks about it, but because it's not perfect, but the combat was so satisfying. Like, I loved the combat in the demo. I thought it was really fun to go around this dark castle and kill a bunch of monsters and stuff. And they're all like classic Final Fantasy monsters. Like one of the first enemies you run into are like the bombs from Final Fantasy. And then you can use one of your abilities to capture their fire spells and then throw it back at them. And then of course they self-destruct if you don't kill them fast enough. Like, I love all the Final Fantasy touches they throw in there, but man, like I definitely hear what you had to say about the gear, because you get a ton of gear all the time, and it just looks so stupid on your character,
right?
Like it looks all just mismatched and weird, and it's like this blend of like modern Japanese clothing and Final Fantasy clothes, and and it just looks so stupid on your character, but there's a bit of a charm to it in a lot of ways. So yeah, I'm excited to play more of it because I do want to also kill chaos because that's what you're supposed to do in this game. So I'm excited to play more.
I busted up when you run into, what is it? Is it called a cactar, the little green cactus?
Yeah. Oh,
and
yes.
it just you run into it and it just starts super speeding, stuttering around the entire area around you and trying to catch up to it. I was dying laughing because I was like, this is ridiculous. So even to the point of the clothes, right? If this is the tone, if they're not going to be overly serious about it, I am much more inclined to enjoy it for what it is, because you're 100% right. I think the ridiculousness is kind of part of its charm, which I just don't know if I got before, because to me before it seemed overly serious, but I think there's something there.
Yeah, especially with Cactar, when he runs away and speeds away, I love the sound effect that plays too. It's just so stupid, but I just love it in the way that I love, the Leprechaun movies and watching them on, St. Patrick's Day or something like that. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this, although I will say, I don't know if you played this game in performance mode on PS5, Matt, but playing it on performance mode makes it look like the screen is covered in Vaseline because there's so much anti-aliasing.
Oh no!
It just is almost like this blurry image, and I'm just I just can't with this. So believe it or not, this is one of those games where if I do pick it up, it'll probably be a performance mode game or a quality mode game because it looks so much better and actually runs at a good frame rate in quality mode too. So. I think I might be going that route. But,
did you have to change the performance? Because I just left mine at the defaulted whatever it was.
So it asks you. I think the default it comes up with is performance mode.
Okay.
But you can change it anytime as long as you kind of back out to the main menu essentially. But now that we've talked about that, Sean, tell me about Horizon because I know you've been playing it.
I've been playing Horizon. I feel like I need to put a disclaimer out here in case anybody's actually excited maybe that I'm on the show. I know that I have the greatest things to say about a lot of things. I gotta be honest with you, man. I'm struggling with Horizon. I really am. This is a game that I think Ed Placencia over Married to the Game said it best. Why don't I have the weapons and abilities that I had 6 months ago as Aloy? That I'm really struggling with that. And because I just want to be able to be a badass like I was by the end of that game. I'm kind of having the same journey in the early goings of this, trying to become a badass again. It's I'm the savior. Everybody recognizes me as a savior and everything's great. But it's it's hard as heck, man. The combat is kicking my butt. It's very specific what you've got to do with these enemies. But that's an aside. What I actually wanted to talk about with Horizon is my journey from going from PS4 Pro to now playing on PS5, which I think is interesting. And man, I'm already hearing the XBot is over on the PlayStation Drive talking smack about all the PlayStation stuff. I got this code for free too. So I'm getting my opinion, take it or leave it. But I'm coming from the same spot I am with the PlayStation stuff as I am with a lot of the Xbox stuff, in that my experience firing up a PS5 was a pain in the ass. Bringing games over, bringing save files over, even the notion of starting up and carrying my save file from the PS4 version up over to this one. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not what Xbox does, and it's not even close. So that's just a reality of I was excited about my gigantic new PS5 being in my house, but it was a pain in the butt getting started. I'm not gonna lie. I will say that, and I don't know how many people are playing Horizon on a PS4. I think you guys are everybody's playing on PS5, but I played on PS4 Pro. The thing looks great. The game actually looks really, really good. I had a couple of moments of, some stutter here and there, but honestly, and it's been patched since then. So I think it's been getting better over the last month. I think the game has been out, and on PS4 Pro, this game is actually really good. The notion of games being held back by being built for other generations is clearly nonsense. It's been proven wrong time and time again. And this is another example. I'm happy to say, because there's a couple 100 million PS4s out there. People,
something like that.
People can play this on PS4, at least on the PS4 Pro, and have a really good time with it. But I gotta say, man, with so many games going on, I am struggling to find a flow in this. I want to do more about discovering what happened, and I'm way more interested. It's just like the first game with me. I'm way more interested in the dark past, like for us, like what happened with the original kind of humans versus the tribal stuff that's going on. I just don't care. There are so many characters they keep introducing me to, and they're not resonating with me, not even a little bit. So the combat, the characters aren't really there for me, but it's an absolutely gorgeous game that I don't know, man. I seem to be bouncing off of it a little bit. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if anything, I think it's actually refreshing because you're not the only person I've heard say this about Horizon, where a lot of especially because it is so story focused this time around versus the last one. Like I think there's just so much more dialogue in this one than there was in the last one. So if you're not into it, or if you're not into the characters, like you're gonna probably fall off this game very quickly.
Getting started, there's a ton of just like, let me tell you all about this stuff, and it's like we got to go to this embassy thing, and it's like, but we can't do the embassy thing first. It's like, get on with it. Like what? Nobody's talking about this. Good God, let's just get onto the game. So it's the classic thing of the game is enormous. I think the same things could have been said about The Witcher and maybe even some of the Assassin's Creed games. Like this game is huge. So it just depends on like what you're here for, I would say.
So I'm really surprised to hear you say that, Sean. Like, did you vibe with the characters and the story as much in Zero Dawn, or did you have kind of the same hangups that you did with the original?
Same thing. It feels the same. And eventually, like this is my frustration with where Aloy starts, because by the end, I was kicking ass and I was loving it. Like I love like the weapon where you kind of like shoot them. It's almost like a wire that traps them on the ground. And that's what I want. I don't want to be, where's that weapon? The tripwire, I think it's called. Maybe it's something else. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I'm actually pretty sure you nailed it with tripwire, Sean.
Might have been, yeah. So it's just like things that fly, especially, it just locks them on the ground. You can walk up to them and just like smack them around a little bit. Like my toolkit was better by the end, and I've reset a little bit, and I kind of have to start all over again. So that's been a little bit frustrating, I would say, because I just want to go out and be the badass I was at the end. And yeah, like the same thing with the characters that this world is kind of uninteresting to me. And I think that's just, it's not me criticizing the game. I think it's just not for me. But it feels strange to say that, because this game is being wildly praised and there's so many people who absolutely love this game. I just find it to be a little bit of struggle right now. Now, what happens in these types of games for me in the past, and Far Cry is a good example of this, where I'm like, I'm not equipped well enough to really like to settle into a groove and really start to kick butt. And with Far Cry, I got there, and my end impression or my end review on Far Cry was that I really liked Far Cry a lot. So I have faith that I'll get there, but I want more silence. I want more he's still kind of like a hologram, and he's the best thing about this damn game. I gotta say, from the acting, just who he is and the secrets he keeps and the way he goes about things, super fascinating. Just give me him. Pretty much everybody else I just don't really care about.
Man,
yeah. And it's
sorry, Ryan, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, so what I was going to say is that it's interesting that you brought up Far Cry, because I think, again, one of the main differences between these two games is just, again, Far Cry, you could settle into that world a little bit more because you aren't bombarded with story in that game. There is some story in Far Cry, obviously. Yeah. But for the most part, you can tune it. If you're not into the story in Far Cry, but you're into the gameplay, you can tune it out probably much easier than something like Horizon, where it's like really trying to get you invested in this world. And if you're not having it, and if you're not into it, then you're not into it. Like that's just how it is. So yeah.
There's tons to do. Like that map, it's like, man, there's like that's why I do compare it to Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, because like there's just every time I turn a corner, I'm like, maybe I do want to go level up or find some new materials or things like that. So like the world is gorgeous, and like there's so much good to it. I feel like I'm coming off really, really negative, but like there's some pieces that I weigh more heavily than maybe others do that are impacting me in kind of a negative way. But I think Matt had something to say too.
Yeah, no, I completely understand where you're coming at, Sean, because like especially with Zero Dawn, it took me, I liked that game, but I never really fell in love with it. And I think Forbidden West, the side characters I resonated with a lot more this time around. And it's funny that you want Silence, because I hate Silence. I want him as little as possible. So that like,
really?
Yeah, I can't stand him. I can't stand him. Have you been doing much of the side content? Because I found some of my favorite side characters and some of the best weapons that I got were from the side content. Because similarly to you, there was points where I was just like, how do I take this thing down? What am I supposed to do with this? And it was certain weapons from certain side quests that I got that I was like, here we go. I'm about to rip this thing apart. So like, are you mainlining it mostly, or have you been messing with the side stuff? Or
no, I am messing with the side stuff. And that's the kind of thing where I feel like I'm not even making any progress. Like I want to be able, and eventually I do go to the next story beat, but I really am like, I'm realizing that I'm struggling. And the way that I typically go about that sort of thing is I just do all the side stuff, get OP, and then I just steamroll the rest of the game. And I feel like I haven't really been able to do that yet. Where I'm at with combat is like, I feel like I've got one shot at being stealthy, and then that's it. Then everybody knows where I am. And then it's kind of guns blazing, but I've got a damn bow and arrow. Like, it's not good enough, man. I've got this spear thing that explodes parts off, and that's fine. But I continuously feel like I don't have enough. And it's like, what happened to Aloy? I have a huge problem with that, with this as being a sequel to the other game. I think they probably could have carried that over a little bit differently, especially given that we're heading into the Forbidden West, which is more dangerous and crazy than it ever was before. Start off as where we left off with Aloy, and then like continue it on to go on to more big bad stuff. I don't know. That's I don't make games, but that seems to make sense to me.
Yeah, it's actually kind of like the Metroid syndrome in a way, where Samus loses all of her powers at the beginning of a game.
Totally.
And then you feel like you got to, earn that all back. But the difference between that and what you're describing with Horizon is I feel like the Metroid games probably just have a much smoother power progression curve than what you're experiencing with Horizon.
They scale back. This game is kicking my butt right at the start. And and also when you do get those power-ups in Metroid, like they feel awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
you feel really powerful by the end of that game, in particular. And that's kind of the main difference.
I feel bad. I just spent 10 minutes just crapping all over a game that everybody loves. And it's like, thanks for coming on the show.
But that's okay. We're here at the PlayStation Drive, Sean. We encourage diverse opinions about games. That's just how we do this. Well, moving on, Matt, tell me about Elden Ring, because Hoppel actually has a question for you afterwards.
I can't stop, Ryan. I played for 10 hours straight or something a couple days ago because I couldn't get out of bed, and the most that I could do was just submit myself to that. I'm loving it. I never expected that leading up to the hype for this game and how excited people were, and given my history with FromSoft, but just the fact that you can go and explore and do something else if a boss is pounding you into the dirt, and find different ways to kind of advance and progress, and even just exploring the map. A lot of people compare it to Breath of the Wild, and I do think that's apt. I do think that the level of discovery in this game is something really, really cool. I'll just pull up the map and I'll be like, okay, what's that weird looking structure over there? Time to go figure out what's going on over there. And either I die horribly and then, I take another run at it. But I do think that a big part of the reason why I'm enjoying it is because I did re-roll as an astrologer. The magic in this game just makes it so much more bearable for me, because my basic, plan of attack is avoid as much as possible until I can shoot some, giant rocks at the enemy. So that's how I'm enjoying it. I'm really, really having fun with it. And I keep thinking about it. It's kind of just sitting in my mind all the time. And I think it's just, it's a big surprise for me how much I'm enjoying it. So yeah, I'm continuing to have a great time. I keep playing it. I've beaten 2 of the main dungeons, and a lot of the side bosses and side dungeons. And now, I'm making my way to dungeon number 3, and I'm still having a blast.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. Again, that's a game that I think is going to bring in a lot of people that didn't like Dark Souls, simply before the exploration element, for the fact that it is a little more forgiving, even though it's still just as hard as the other games, but it's more forgiving in the sense that you're not stuck running down the same corridor, 85 times bashing your head against the wall, just to beat one boss. It gives you the ability to go in, a bunch of different directions and try different stuff and figure things out. Although I will say, Matt, even though I know the magic has made things a little bit easier for you now, wait until you get some of the later bosses in the game, where some of the other bosses that are impervious to magic, or B, absorb magic and get health from it. So those are always fun later in the game. So just watch out for that. Magic just isn't the end all be all thing. Cause I know a lot of people picked Astrologer thinking about that, because the magic, to your point, in the early game, very, very, very powerful in that game, but it does have diminishing returns the farther you get in, or at least that's what I noticed playing as my character. But I'm glad you're enjoying it. But I want to bring in Hoppel, on our Discord who asked the question, Matt, why did you stop playing Horizon Forbidden West and start playing Elden Ring? He's looking forward to the show, of course, and he says to have fun.
Because I finished Forbidden West. I finished the main story. And that was kind of a good jump off point for me. I do plan to go back to do more side content. But it was just this absolute like cornucopia of games that we have right now. There's something coming out like every week, and there's so much to play that like I felt happy with my time with Forbidden West for now. But I think the mark of it is always for me is I haven't deleted it. I haven't uninstalled it. So that like I do plan to go back to it when there's a bit of a hole, just to, live in that world a little bit more and explore some more of the side content. But yeah, I got sucked into the hype with Elden Ring, and I had finished Forbidden West. So I thought that was a good jumping off point.
Nice.
It was such a thug life moment. Like, you ask the question, like, why did you leave this game? It's like, because I finished it. And then the glasses come down and the whatever. I don't think I should say. The cigarette.
The sandwich, if we're going by How I Met Your Mother terminology.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right. Last game we got to talk about. I know we've talked a lot about games, but guys, it's that time of year. There's lots of games. Gran Turismo 7. I talked about it in the show last week because I was the only one who played it last week, but Matt and Sean have also played Gran Turismo 7. So I'm excited to hear what everyone's thoughts are. So first of all, I talked like all show about it last week, so I'm going to kind of go last year. Sean, I'm actually going to start with you.
Oh, no.
What did you think about Gran Turismo 7? It's okay. It's okay if you didn't like it, Sean. You can say it.
It's really good and it's really pretty, but it's kind of plain is my take on it, is that it feels like it's missing some flavor. It's missing something. It's like, do I really love cars, or is it man, I'm so negative today. Holy crap. Matt, did you like Gran Turismo, man?
So I'll admit that stepping into it immediately made me mad as I was texting Ryan saying, how long is this opening movie and why can't I skip it? And
it's 8 minutes, by the way.
And then when you told me this happens every time you turn it on, it's disabled in the settings, I did that immediately. I had a love-hate relationship with this game until it clicked. And I think that for me, like, this feels very much like if Forza Horizon is like the jock, right? The big party goer, the spectacle, the ridiculousness, the fun, like the Fast and the Furious. Gran Turismo feels like, the quiet, the cafe. It's like it's meant to be like this. Yeah, this for me feels like a much more relaxing experience. That doesn't mean it's easy, because I felt like I was really bad at the game, and like I was like, for the first handful of races, I was like first. Oh yeah, I'm great at this. And then I started getting just decimated. And it took me going through those licensing courses. It took me kind of just stepping back and slowing down. And then I played for like 8 hours straight, because like it took this moment for it to click. And I was like, okay, now I understand a little bit better how to take that corner. And like at first I was like, where is the rewind feature from Forza? And then I was like, no, this is a different game. Like, this is like track racing. Like, it's a fundamentally different beast. And I think both of these things should coexist, just because it is like a different feel of the game. And I didn't get that right away. Like I said, it took me a bit for me to kind of come to that understanding with the game, but I'm actually really enjoying it. And like, I'm not like car hunting. I'm not like constantly going to like check what cars there are. I'm just kind of like buying the car that I need for the occasion and then souping it up as much as I can and then getting back in there. I will say that like the microtransactions, just from like the outside looking in, and the amount of points that you get is a little ridiculous when like I've literally played for like 7 or 8 hours, and you have like your daily workout thing that like you max out quite quickly, and then like you're very slowly accumulating points. And even like those like reward cards that you get, that's just basically like a loot box. I got, I don't know, 9 or 10 of those maybe. Out of those 9 or 10, I have gotten the smallest cash amount every time except for one where I got a car part. Like, there's like the reward system in that game, I think, just doesn't fit with the way that the game presents itself, because the game itself, like I said, it's calming. Like, the music is beautiful. The way that it, like, I never expected to actually sit there and read about these cars when, like, the cafe dude is talking to me about them, but it's short enough and my attention span is there enough for the 30 seconds that he talks that I actually genuinely find myself enjoying it. And I'm not a car person. I could care less about any of that. But yeah, it's just, I really appreciate for what it is, but I do think that the microtransactions and the reward economy desperately need some reworking, because that is the thing that's kind of stopping me from being like, this is a really, really good game. because I do think that should be mentioned.
Yeah. And actually going back to your point earlier, Sean, about the game just being very plain, that is just Gran Turismo style. Like every game in the series has kind of been like that. So it's one of those, it's actually been a common complaint for a lot of people for the series, like over time. Whereas if you go and play a game like Forza Motorsport, even like, I think there's just a little more style to it.
Yeah. And that is what I'm comparing it to. It's almost like, Horizon is the latest, greatest in Microsoft's land, but Motorsport is I think the more direct comparison to Gran Turismo. And I agree with kind of everything that Matt was saying, like comparing it to almost to like an academic, or it's almost like golf. It's almost like, look at the fine sport of golf, and like the grass is cut at such and such millimeters with this kind of like it's that level of detail. So if you have like that kind of appreciation for cars, then this is going to click for you. But it is lacking a little bit of personality and like the power, the drive, the exhilaration. Like I don't feel exhilarated. With all that said, the game modes that are in this are really addicting. Like even just some of the, I don't know if it's training or is it
license tests.
Yeah, you have to drive a car and then you got to stop it in a certain area, and it's very addicting. Like if you do it well, you get a gold trophy. If you do it poorly or not at all, you get the bronze and those kind of things. I'll spend hours playing that kind of stuff, but not actually like playing the games and the races. I think the music rally is also very cool and unlocking the new tracks. Like this game definitely has merit to it, but this is the notion of exclusives. If you've been only on PlayStation, you've only ever known Gran Turismo, then you don't know Forza Motorsport, and you don't really have that comparison point. And I still think that, I hope it doesn't come across as like fanboyish at all. I think Motorsport still edges it out a little bit. I think on the front of welcoming people into this style of game too, I think Motorsport also does that quite well too. I play on like expert settings, which is, like Ryan saying, like this game's super easy. But what I like about, you mentioned the rewind feature in Horizon, Matt, that's also a feature in Motorsport. And the driving line is a little bit, well, it's not really non-existent here unless do you have a full on? I didn't go to the easiest settings. Is there a mode where you have a full on driving line?
There's a full on driving line and auto drive and auto braking.
Auto drive was wild to me to see, actually. But what I like, for me personally, like what I see from Motorsport is like really fine-tuned settings. Like you could really dial that into the experience that you're looking for. And this is a little bit not quite there where I go, there's a version of it, I guess, in Gran Turismo where you can tell it to don't guide you at all unless you need to brake. And I don't think that system is very good. It just basically kind of like lights up red at the bottom, go like brake, 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 brake. And it doesn't give you a graduated sense that Motorsport does. With all this said, game is gorgeous. Game feels awesome on the DualSense, by the way. Like that's definitely that's something new to me that I'm starting to come around on, Mr. Badbit. I gave him a little crap at Extra Life. I'm like, I don't think this DualSense all it's cracked up to be, but it's pretty neat in this game.
So quick question now that you brought up the DualSense, Sean, have you played a dirt race yet in that game?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh like, man, the DualSense for the dirt race though is amazing.
So cool
because it's like the way it almost like feels like you're driving over rocks and stuff like that. Like I love like the feedback it gives when I gave it
to my wife actually. And she's like, I don't understand how this works. How is that possible? Like she was actually like blown away like by the technology and just like it's there, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, we answered some of these questions that we got already, but I'm going to bring them in anyway. So we got TPR first saying, all right, here goes my question. Sean, is that Mr. Xbox Incarnate Sean Capri?
I know.
What does Mr. Xbox think of GT7? How do you guys think it compares to Forza Motorsport? I've heard from enthusiasts that they prefer GT's online, but Motorsport's customization and tuning, which plays into a lot of what you're saying. Where I think I don't think any of us have actually tried the online for Gran Turismo yet. I mostly play it by myself, and then for the most part, it's been offline. It was offline during the entire review process, and then my PlayStation's been acting up recently and hasn't been working with online recently, so I haven't even been able to try it yet. So I've heard good things, like the sport mode in particular. I hear good things about, but I just haven't had a chance to try it yet. But then I also want to bring in Yarden at Yarden Angel, who says, thank you, Shad, for quote unquote influencing me to buy Gran Turismo 7. Recent life changes have killed my free time, but the time I've had spent with this game, I've really enjoyed. After a few slips, I feel Gran Turismo is back, brings back some great memories playing Gran Turismo 4 as a kid. What do y'all think about this entry as well? So I think we've done a good job of answering those because I didn't think we were going to go into the motorsport conversation, but I'm glad that you brought that up, Sean.
I feel like, how can you not? Yeah.
I definitely think there are different strokes for different folks as well. Like I personally, even though I like motorsport a lot, actually, as well, I prefer Gran Turismo, but it's simply from a gameplay perspective where I actually kind of like the fact that it's more vanilla, and I actually get a little bit, kind of crazy with the car tinkering in Gran Turismo, to a point where I never thought, I normally would, because I'm not really into cars in real life or anything like that, but I like all that stuff. Plus, to your point, Sean, I love the license tests in Gran Turismo as well. I think they're really fun. I've always been a big fan of them, even in the early Gran Turismo games, and they're really fun in this one, but they get really, really hard if you get towards the end of the game. They're kind of crazy. Like if you go for the super license, like, oh my God, like some of those are ridiculous as far as difficulty, which is cool.
I was just looking up the car list because I wasn't sure how many cars there were going to be in Gran Turismo 7, but it's like, is this it? Like there's not a lot of cars in this game, man.
Yeah. There's definitely less than Forza.
There are more brands in Forza than there are cars in this game, which I think is fascinating. Again, I'm not really hearing those kind of comparisons at all in this game. I want more cars. What the heck? Maybe they'll sell them to me. Maybe one day, but they're only selling credits in this time. I will say though that definitely to Matt's point, there is a lot of grindiness in this game as well. And one of the things that we just didn't see during the review period was the microtransactions, because they just weren't really there. Like the microtransactions were turned off at that point. And I definitely felt the grind was definitely there, like 10 to 20 hours in, trying to get a specific car for a specific race, because there are specific qualifications for each race of, what a car needs to meet in order to qualify to race in specific races. So I do think there's a bit of a grind there as you go through the experience. But all in all, like I finished it this week. I loved the campaign and I had a great time with it. I am definitely going to go back for more down the road, but there's a lot of games going on, and we should probably move on to our other topic this week with maybe like 10 minutes left of the show. We got to talk about the state of play as well, aka the Japanese state of play. Essentially, they kind of warned us about this ahead of time, but that's actually when it ended up being. Yeah. Although again, I saw a lot of people disappointed on Twitter, after it was over, but it's just one of those things where, like, if you look at the initial tweets, like they gave us exactly what they said they were going to give us, essentially. So let's go through some of these announcements, and then we'll kind of talk about each one as we go. Starting off with Capcom announcing Exo Primal. It's a futuristic dinosaur game coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 it's sometime in 2023. I know a lot of people were thinking this was Dino Crisis, but it's not. It looks more like something like Earth Defense Force, but instead of bugs, it's dinosaurs. And then you've got these big mechs and you're mowing them down. I don't know. This just didn't really do anything for me. Matt, what did you think about Exo Primal?
I cannot get over the term dinosaur forecast. It is inherently hilarious. And dinosaur outbreak. I can't with this game already. I'm like, it looks like Anthem, but dinosaurs, but like, I don't know. There was nothing about this game, especially seeing like 500,000 of the same dinosaur on screen, just like rushing a bunch of mechs. Like I can't, I am so not interested in this game that like, I don't know. No, thank you.
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. 17 frames a second and the same dinosaur over and over and over again. Dinosaur forecast.
Dinosaur outbreak.
You nailed it. Yep.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like Second Extinction, which was a game that Sean and we were excited about coming to Xbox that we saw during the Xbox Series X reveal event, and that game was not good. And it looks like it's trying to do a lot of the same stuff in this one. So there you go. We also got new trailers for Ghostwire Tokyo, Stranger in Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, and Forspoken. We also got that new demo we talked about with Stranger in Paradise as well. All those trailers look fine. All those games are coming out soon. We probably don't have anything to say about those. And then
very quickly, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, just to bring up the fact that Forspoken was delayed, right? We found out like right before the state of play, and then we got confirmation. Well, I mean, in the trailer as well, that it was delayed out to October, if I remember correctly. So that's
true. October 25th.
Yeah, because we talked about that last week, and I was like, Forspoken's coming in May, and not anymore.
Just kidding.
Which is fine.
It looked gorgeous though, man. That game looked awesome.
Looks really pretty, and that game definitely needs some time after that last gameplay demo, which it looked a little empty and stuff. And this one is already looking better. So yeah, that's the only thing I want to bring up is we did get like a confirmed delay there, which is fine. Take your time, make the game great.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, a free-to-play hero shooter based off the Gundam franchise called Gundam Evolution was announced. It's coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 in 2022. I'm the only person probably at this panel who's actually like intrigued about this because
I literally fast forwarded through this trailer part, Ryan. I was like, next.
So I actually like the Gundam franchise a lot, but all of the Gundam games are usually really terrible. But this is the first one I've seen in a while where it's like, that actually looks like it might actually be fun. So
Ryan,
I'll try it out. It's free to play and it looks like Overwatch, but with Gundams.
Ryan,
so,
I will play this with you. This game actually looks kind of fun. It looks like Halo, but Overwatch, but Gundam. And this is probably going to just finish off Halo and it can just stay in its grave. So yeah.
Yeah, just bury it, right, Sean?
I guess so. I mean, Halo's not in the best spot either, so.
I was going to say, we talked about that a lot. Like, speaking of like being critical on shows, like go listen to the Xbox Drive where Sean and I were quite critical yesterday talking about Halo. So.
The only place I'm going to be a fanboy is on Nintendo Drive, man. I'm buying everything on Nintendo. I don't even care. Give me that Kirby game.
Every game that's $2 or less, you'll buy on that.
I'll buy the Kirby. I just bought Smash for full price. It's like 4 years old, for God's sakes. Yeah, no, that's what the fanboy is.
Sean, you're not ever going to be a fanboy until you buy the Kingdom Hearts Cloud Editions. So
that's true. That ain't happening. Yeah.
Yeah. My God. All right. Next up, probably one of our most exciting announcements from the show. Konami has announced the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection, which launches in 2022 on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 and contains the following games. TMNT Arcade, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time Arcade, the TMNT NES game, TMNT 2, the arcade game on NES, the main patent project on NES, Tournament Fighters on both Genesis, SNES, and NES as well, Turtles in Time on SNES, the Hyperstone Heist on Sega Genesis, and then the 3 Game Boy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games. So 13 games in total. Not only that, but both the arcade games as well as Tournament Fighters on SNES and the Hyperstone Heist will all have online play as well. So you can actually play with friends online. Digital Eclipse is actually doing this collection. They did the Mega Man collection, and there's apparently going to be a lot of bonus features like in that as well, where there's going to be a lot of challenge modes and boss rush modes and all kinds of museum stuff. So I'm stoked for this collection. This looks amazing.
Yes.
What do y'all think? Sean, what do you think?
It's huge, man. Like, this is I actually had a question for you. Like, is there anything missing? It seems like it's pretty comprehensive, but I wasn't sure. And I'm actually quite surprised, to be honest with you. I don't know anything about licensing or anything, but I was surprised to see the NES game on there. It seemed like that would just be locked to that console forever. But as I think about it, I'm thinking the music from the dam level, like, and the like, oh my gosh, give it to me right now. And why do I want to play that game? But I do.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything missing? Is this everything?
No, this is literally every Turtles game that came out before the PlayStation 1 at this point. Like,
yeah, they had to cut off with TMNT and things like that, the 360 games, obviously.
Yeah, like, and I imagine if they do a collection for this and it does well, they'll probably do another collection of the later games. So yeah, they literally got all the games, all the right games, and I know Digital Eclipse is going to do an amazing job with this collection. So sign me up. Yeah, man. I can't wait for this. And also, finally, Sean, to your point, we're finally going to have the damn level on modern consoles. Heck yes. So everyone can re-experience that, or just the Technodrome, which is one of the hardest bosses in
the original Dark Souls game.
Yeah. God, if you lose a couple turtles, it's all over.
It's over.
All right. Next up, kaiju battling game Giga Bash was announced for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 later this year. They showed brief snippets of this. Looks fine. It exists. Yeah. Next question. All right. An updated port of 2013's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Brawl is coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 later this year as JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Brawl R, which will feature new visuals and a whole bunch of new fighters. In fact, there's going to be 50 JoJo fighters in this game. And in fact, this was a PlayStation 3 game before that's on the PlayStation Store that I know a lot of people were running out to get because physical copies on PlayStation 3 are like $200 for this game. So I'm glad to see it come back for all those people who are a fan of JoJo. I know Sean's not a fan of JoJo, but Matt, what do you think about this?
Never got into JoJo. I tried. Never really clicked for me. So this, honestly, Ryan, just doesn't do much for me. I know there's a very loud fan base for JoJo. I'm sure a lot of people are very excited about this, so I'm very happy for them. But this is a pass for me.
Yeah, same. I don't really like JoJo, but I like fighting games. So I've heard this is a really good fighting game, but I've never played it. So if I hear good things about this fighting game, I might actually check it out, despite me not liking JoJo, because I do like fighting games a lot. But next up, Shadow Warrior developer Flying Wild Hog have announced their next game, Trek to Yomi, a cinematic experience in Edo period Japan, coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 sometime in the future. Sean Capri, I see you nodding your head over there. I think you like this, right?
This is the game of the show, man. I mean, Turtles is amazing, but like we played all these, like this looked amazing. It's like, it looked to me like Ghost of Tsushima plus Limbo plus Prince of Persia. And I am here for it, man. That game looks awesome. I don't know. Is this the first time that we've seen this? Have we seen this somewhere else?
No,
before,
this
maybe?
is brand new.
Oh my gosh, give it to me now. That game looked absolutely incredible and totally to me like stood out from all the other games. Where it's a lot of obviously a lot of Japanese stuff. This is no exception, but I'm here for that presentation, that art style, that gameplay. Yes, please give it to me.
Yeah, it looks ridiculously awesome. I'm actually, this is one of my standouts for me as well. But it's funny, Sean, that you're here for the show because they confirmed after day one on Game Pass. So that's where I'm going to be playing it.
Did they really? Oh, I love it. Oh, that's hilarious. That's the other, and Xbox does it as well. Like they have no real obligation to say like, this is also going to be available somewhere else, but it would make life a lot easier. We have to go digging for some of these things. Well, then there you go. Get it on Game Pass. Holy crap. Looks awesome.
Well, actually, I think like only 2 or 3 of these games that we're talking about today are exclusive to PlayStation. Almost all of these are at least on Xbox or Switch or both. So
interesting. Yeah.
Like especially with Turtles, that's on literally everything. Yeah. Or even something like the Gundam game is on everything. Yeah. As well as like JoJo, I think is coming to everything too. So kind of on everything.
Oh, Trek to Yomi, that's my pick of the show, man. Definitely. Yeah. That was awesome.
I actually think that was also a good pick to do in like a Japanese style showcase too, because if you didn't know this was a Polish developer, you would have thought it was from a Japanese studio.
Really? I really did. Well, given that, they said they were focusing on the Japanese developed games, like I thought that was kind of a fit, so I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they were one of 2 European developers on the show. The next one we're talking about, Housemarque. They announced Returnal is getting a free update called Ascension that will add 2-player co-op to the game and also a new area called the Tower of Sisyphus. I think that's how you say it. It's basically set to challenge players. It's going to be like this big challenge mode, which is obviously not going to be available in co-op. Just the main game is going to be available in co-op. The update will launch on March 25th, and it's free for anyone who owns Returnal already, which I think this is an awesome move. I think if you are looking for more Returnal and you want to play co-op, there you go. I think this is actually a really cool move. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I loved Returnal. I think this is a great way to get people in, especially as, more and more people are getting in on the PS5, and I've heard about how good Returnal is. I finished that game. I loved it, but I would definitely hop back in to play with friends and to kind of, experience it again. And yeah, the tower climbing of Sisyphus sounds really dope as well. So yeah, this is cool. I'm probably not going to play it day one, but I do plan to get to it eventually.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds like a STI, Ryan. The Tower of Syphilis. Is that what it's called?
Something
online, like dude. This game's getting online co-op before Halo. How about that?
Yep. I know. It's wild. It's wild,
I have this game. I'm going to play it. I would love to play co-op with you guys too. That sounds great.
Yeah, Sean, let's do it.
That's pretty exciting.
Can't wait. I'm a huge Housemarque fan. For all the XBot garbage out there, none of you guys even know who Housemarque was.
I was going to say, I think you might be the biggest Nex Machina fan that I know in real life.
Dude, that game is awesome. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at it.
Next, Square Enix have announced a new real-time strategy RPG called the Diofield Chronicles, which will launch on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 later this year. I love the idea of this game, but I think the visuals were kind of dull for this game. I don't know. I'm mildly interested in this, but I love the idea of it being like a strategy RPG, but not being grid-based like Fire Emblem, but it's more like Tactics Ogre, where it's a real-time strategy game. Like StarCraft almost, but with fantasy stuff. So I don't know. I'm hoping this is awesome, but we'll see. Guys, you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of with you on that, Ryan.
Cool.
I love the strategy stuff. I don't like the real-time strategy stuff as well. And yeah, honestly, graphically it looked a little off. So yeah, I think you said it well.
For sure. And then last up, and this one was just for Ryan Turfer.
No, it's not just for you.
Oh,
but keep going.
I'm excited to hear.
Really?
Okay. Square Enix have also announced Valkyrie Elysium, an action RPG prequel to the Valkyrie Profile games. It will launch on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 later this year. And this one's actually exclusive to PlayStation. When I saw this trailer, I freaked out. I was so excited for this because we haven't had a new Valkyrie profile game in like 12 years. And the last one was on the DS, and it wasn't even like a normal Valkyrie profile game. It was something completely different from the original series. And they're again like reinventing this series by doing a prequel and have it be an action RPG this time around. But man, this game looks awesome.
Yes.
I can't wait for this game.
Yeah,
So-
why would you think that this is not a me? Does this not look like Tales to you at all? Like it looks like action, that Japanese action. Like I don't know. I mean, maybe it's
I
missing
saw a
some
lot
mechanics.
of people like saying that they were not impressed by this game. So
Oh,
I was
this
actually
looks
expecting you
great.
guys not to be on my side on this one.
Well, here's what I will say about that. Maybe where other people are coming from is like this is the last game you saw, and you're kind of waiting for like something to smack you across the face. And I don't know if this one does it, but it looks really good. But yeah, I think people are it's about expectations. And the one more thing. This doesn't really fall into that category, but I thought this game looked great, man. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually more on the this didn't really do much for me. I think the art style is really weird. It's like this cell shaded mix, but also trying to look
like it.
realistic. And I
Yeah.
hated her face. It looks like a creepy doll. Like it just like I appreciate it for what it is, and I really hope it's going to be good. But nothing about this, even the
Oh my
combat,
God.
like just looked okay. I really hope this is going to be good, and I am curious because I do love JRPGs, and I do love a good action JRPG. But from what we
Yeah.
saw of this game, I'll wait to see more.
Yeah. Well, it's still got a lot of time before it comes out. I imagine the footage that we've got, it's probably alpha footage. So, I mean, if anything, if it's just the visuals that got you down, I mean, I think there's still room to grow there.
They can still fix her face.
Yeah. Well, actually, the way the faces are designed, that's actually very reminiscent of the older Valkyrie profile games. So I don't think they're going to change them because they kind of look like that in the PS2 version of the games as well. So there you go. I'm super excited about that though, because again, I played the Valkyrie profile games for the first time this year and loved them, and I can't wait for this game. It looks great.
Looks cool.
Before we go, we got to answer these two questions from the community about the state of play, starting with Awesome Dave 1337, who asks, as a weeb, I thought the state of play was a banger. What games are you guys most excited about from the presentation? And then the Muffin Mon actually asked a similar question. Which of the Square Enix games shown at the state of play are you most excited about? Forspoken, Diofold Chronicles, or Valkyrie? I think we can all agree it's probably Valkyrie profile, unless Matt, you have something to say against that. Maybe Forspoken for you?
Yeah, Forspoken for me, for sure.
Forspoken looks really good, man. It's
yeah.
hard for me to say that. Yeah, the other ones are on top of that. Forspoken looks really good.
Yeah, just like the flow, the animation, everything about it is just looking so clean, and I'm very excited to. I hope it lives up to the hype.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely Valkyrie. And then of the show, you guys are saying
Trek to Yomi.
Trek to Yama.
Yeah, I
Yomi?
agree.
That's what you guys are saying.
Big time.
For me, it's still actually, honestly, as an old school gamer, it's still probably the Turtles collection, even though I know it's old.
I feel like that's a given.
Realistically, I know
both.
that's the one I'm going to enjoy the most.
Yeah.
So it's definitely the one I'm most excited about.
I don't think there's a wrong answer between the two of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, between Turtles and Valkyrie Elysium, like those are the two I'm personally most excited about. But again, I think there's a lot of good stuff here, and there is also a lot of duds as well. So anyways, we got to get going because this was a long show. But before we go, Matt plugs go.
Yeah, you can find me over at youtube.com/burnoutbrighter. You can also find me on Twitter at burnout_Matt.
And then Sean, where can people find you?
You can find me on the Xbox Drive and the Nintendo Drive and We the Gamercast podcast that I do, where I'm not always bashing PlayStation, I promise you, or on Twitter and on Twitch at Sean Capri. Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants.
Yeah. And thank you again, Sean, for joining us today. This was really awesome to have you on the show with us.
Thanks for having me on. I will say, I think I said it before the recording, but I want it on the record that I said maybe I'd like to come on the show because I've been playing all these games. And I think I actually said on the Xbox Drive, I think PlayStation is going to have an amazing state of play that I'm excited to talk to you guys about. And I think just overall, it wasn't really amazing, but I'm glad to be on the show anyways, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You can find us on Twitter at Yumi Caprice, on YouTube at youtube.com/Yumi Capri, and on podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri and Matt Sawinski, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 42 of the PlayStation Drive, and we're out. The PlayStation Drive is fueled by patrons over at patreon.com/Yumi Capri. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you to our over 70 patrons, starting with our Capremium producers, Dallas Ford, Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on the Xbox Drive and the Nintendo Drive. You can check out his new album, In My Element, over on Apple Music, as well as his website, and Lee Navarro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team. Our platinum producers are Robbie Bobby Miller and Trucker Sloth, and our gold members Argo, Brandon Myers, Dallas Robbins, Dano, Emily O'Kelly, Foolish Fuji, Joel Brooks, Jose Jimenez, Mac Time, Marcus O'Neill, Mr. and Mrs. Nasty Boots, RJ Kern, Skinny Matt, Tony Baker, and Xavier Reyes. Thank you all for all of your support, and if you're interested in joining the Patreon, head over to patreon.com/YumiCapri and pick the tier that's right for you.